All right. Let me see if my Chromebook should be good now. Turn on Chromebook. Okay. Very quickly, my Chromebook's turning on now, but in terms of assessments this week, it's Thursday. Thursday is your assessment, your quiz. It'll be 11 and 12 quiz. Okay. Technically, y'all know we started like a week and a half late in August. Like we started like the 13th instead of like the 4th or something like that. We're a couple days behind where I'd like to be, like if this was a normal school year, but I'm gonna really cut some things for the next 3 days. Okay, so just note there will be some times where it's like, oh, there's a blank, and it's like it'll be okay because I'm cutting some things to make sure that that I know is not longer a standard on the College Board. Does that make sense? So make sure you know your first quiz for second 9 weeks will be Thursday, okay? And it's over 11 and 12, which are 2 short chapters, very short chapters, okay? Let me see. I'm trying to log in people who are here. Okay. All right. So any questions? I do have chat now. So if y'all have any questions about what the main thing is to the main assessment this week? Okay. All right. So we are going to do half of chapter 11 today. It's basically like your market revolution. We've talked about some market revolution already with like Lowell, the railroads, the national road, the American system, all that kind of stuff. Today we're going to finish that market revolution. Okay. So just here's like the standard for it. It says, what were the political, social, and economic causes and effects of the market revolution? So I was just thinking, whenever I see a prompt, I always try to visualize like the setting it up. Okay. And so I just made this where it's like, hey, here's the market revolution. What were the 3, like, elaborate on the 3 different causes. And then, like, if there was an essay talking about the effect, it's like, here's the market revolution, and then tell me about those 3, political, social, economic effects. Just try your best whenever you see a prompt, like, try to visualize it. Like, I think it helps people, okay? All right, so don't worry about the chapter 11 like yet in terms of blanks, but this is a recap. This is some chapter 9 stuff, okay? So reasons for the Industrial Revolution in America, that market revolution in America. Y'all know that in England in the 1750s, they have the first factory system, and their industry is textiles, right? And we know that it was illegal to take the blueprints out, the spinning jenny and stuff, out of England, right? And who is that guy who's going to bring it to America? Samuel Slater. He brought it mentally. He memorized the blueprints, okay? A reason why it takes a little bit longer than the 1750s, a lot longer, is, again, the rules where you couldn't take the blueprints out anywhere in England. And also, England had some wars going on, like, the American Revolution, War of 1812, all that kind of stuff. So that's another reason why it kind of, like, slowly made its way to America. Okay, now let's talk about what are some reasons for industry in America. We know that Embargo Act of 1807 said that, remember, that's Jefferson's second term, okay? That is what said that no ship could, like, leave any ports. So that means we can't import and we can't export, so we have to make our own stuff. And then during the War of 1812, we're fighting our main country we're buying stuff from, so we're not going to order from them. And so we have to make our own things. And just remember that American system, which is Henry Clay, member Speaker of the House and stuff, after the War of 1812, we realized there's all these new industries and factories that developed because we had to make things our own. and he establishes that tariff of 1860 to promote those new industries. Okay, and again, I told you about Samuel Slater already. Okay, so the market revolution. During this time, in antebellum America, early 1800s, our economy will diversify, meaning, you know, when you think about certain countries, you think about like one main type of commodity. Okay, America is not that. America has a diversified economy. In some areas, they're known for trading, like importing, exporting, the shipbuilding. Okay, some places it's about commercial farming, growing extra to sell at cash crops. Some places it's about industry, like textiles. Okay, so during this market revolution, we will have a very diversified economy. Okay, and remember, you'll have some isolated farms, but thanks to internal improvements like canals, railroads, bridges, roads, that are linked to a national network of industry and stuff. So, for instance, the cotton can travel quickly, be shipped to up north with the textiles. It's all thanks to infrastructure and internal improvements. These commodities are all linked. Okay. One thing too is one social change of the market revolution is a lot of women. Okay, about 10% of all white women in 1850. Okay, 10% of all white women worked. That means 90% of white women did not work. And their job was to be, remember that cult of domesticity, the separate sphere idea, where it's the mother's realm to guide the children and be the homemaker. Okay, so you will see that one effect of the market revolution is that men will go work in the factories and women will stay home. Okay, because wages, okay, wages do increase, but that's not saying much, but they increase, and so women don't, a lot of them don't work, and the men will work because they're getting constant wages from working. Okay, another thing, don't think too hard on this, but the Marshall Court, okay, he dies 1835, and so things will change. And long story short, the court, the new court, will really focus on capitalism and competition, meaning encouraging different businesses. Okay, now here is, this is something, there are two historians' take on the market revolution. This should be pretty easy. This one right here, and it's kind of hard to tell people who are with me, but it says in red, the market revolution was an evil villain praying, and it says like forced, and there's something else too, and oppressive, okay? So this clearly, just by those words right there, you know it's like market revolution was a bad thing, right? Okay? This historian talks about it was a resource of inventiveness, innovation, okay? Benefiting, okay? So this is talking about market revolution was a good thing, okay? On the AP exam, you will always have one SAQ, okay, that is going to be two resources, okay? And the first thing is like, what were the main ideas of the two, okay? And then like part B would be like, provide one piece of evidence that supports seller's take. And then part C, provide a piece of evidence that supports Hal's take, okay? So you would have to identify maybe an invention or something, then explain why it was a bad thing or negative thing or something. Okay. All right, so remember I told you part of this market revolution is that we will get the idea of wages. That will be big for the first time in America, okay? The idea of you do this work and you'll get paid this amount every day, okay? That means more consistent, more constant. Again, we're talking like not even $1 a day, okay? But you are working like in the teens in terms of hours a day, okay? And these are usually people who are working in factories, okay? It's very cheap. In terms of you're the factory owner, you don't have to pay much for that. And this is going to be the rise of organized labor. What's another word or term for organized labor? Online people, can you help me out? Organized labor. Okay, good, Izana, a labor union. Okay, It's the idea of people coming together to push for better working conditions. The main working condition labor unions wanted at this time, a 10-hour workday. Okay, I work for technically 8 hours. Okay, these are people who they want to work for 10 hours. I mean, they're working 14-hour days at the minimum in a factory doing the same thing over and over and over again. Okay, they want a maximum amount. Okay, that's their biggest thing. So a market revolution, they're making wages, and they feel like there's only so much they can do. So they're going to come together and be like, hey, we want a 10-hour max workday. Okay, another reason for the market revolution is cheap labor. Okay, immigrants, we know that, your white males, they're going to get paid whatever the full amount of the wage. Okay, factory owners love to hire women and children, children as young as 7, because in their minds, they're saying they are not the breadwinners. Their money is just supplemental. It's extra. It's a bonus. So they can pay them less, okay? Immigrants, in terms of salaries or wages, they're at the bottom of the totem pole, okay? Because, again, they aren't citizens, so the factory owner can say, hey, you get, less than 50%, okay? But think about it. If you're a factory owner, you're going to want to hire immigrants because they, hardly cost you anything, and they're going to do the same work as your white males who would get the full amount of the wages. Okay, and y'all know that industrialization is still going to be huge in the North compared to the South. Here's a review question. What is that one example I told you that is a successful industrial company in the South? Tredegar Iron Works. Tredegar Iron Works. Good. And just remember, that's in Richmond, Virginia. So we're talking the upper South. We're not talking about the deep South and cotton and stuff. So even though it's a Southern industry, it's still a lot different than the Georgia, stuff there. It's the upper South thing. Good. Okay, don't worry about that. All right. So let's go to our notes now. Okay. And I don't know where my copy is, so I'm just going to do, the people who were here will help me out. I think Eli Whitney was your first person in that chart, right? Okay. And so basically it's technological advancement, right? Person, what did the actual advancement do? And then what's the impact, right? So we already know about the cotton gin. And then what was the other thing Eli Whitney did? Interchangeable parts for the what? Musket. Okay. And with this, okay, those two things really put us on the map. We're talking Europe, a lot of European countries started to refer to our system of the economy as the American system of manufacturing, especially because interchangeable parts. And guys, y'all should love this concept of interchangeable part. It's the idea of, if my screen on my phone breaks, I just get a new screen instead of having to get a whole new phone. You just fix the broken part. Okay? That is huge. Did you see why that idea is going to get international acclaim, that we're known as this American system of manufacturing? So make sure you know he did the cotton gin. And y'all know engine. The gin is short for engine. Okay? And interchangeable parts for the musket. The person is Eli Whitney. And we know that the cotton, it basically, cotton, we'll say processed cotton, separate the seeds, processed cotton. And then for the interchangeable parts, you could basically replace broken parts. Okay? And the impact is because of these two things, especially interchangeable parts, Europe and other other outside, continents, countries and stuff will view the U.S. as heavy industry, which is called that American system of manufacturing. It's not the American system like Henry Clay's. This is something else. And this is where people outside of America views oh, America really focuses on machinery, okay, over actual laborers. Okay, and the good news, guys, is that this should be a really easy day. When I'm finished with lecture, you have a really short activity. We're talking like first block kept on asking me questions because they couldn't believe how like short the activity was. Like, really? Yeah, so hopefully I'll have some free time afterwards, okay? People who are online, do y'all have any questions about that first row? Okay. All right, what is the next one? John Deere? Okay. So what is the technological advancement John Deere created? It's called the still-tipped plow. Okay, and basically it tilled the land Okay, and in case you don't know what it, okay, yes, impact. I'll type that really quick for the cotton gin and stuff. Okay, so again, the advancement is the still tipped plow. The guy's name is John Deere, okay? And it tilled the land faster. We're talking at least 3 times faster. You're probably thinking, what the heck does tilled mean? Okay, tilled means to break up the land. Okay, there were some farmers who heard that the land that was like the Great Plains and like the western land that they're moving westward, like Louisiana Territory and stuff, that soil is very fertile, but it's very hard to like break up and stuff. Okay, so what a plow does, okay, think of it as like a wheelbarrow, okay, but like there is almost like this piece of metal that's sharp, okay, and like a donkey or a cow or a horse pulls it, and as it's pulling it, you're guiding it, and it actually, the metal thing, the sharp metal thing, is breaking up the land. So instead of you having to get a shovel and like just like break up the land, you actually are just like guiding this like mechanization, and you watch it do the work. Okay, and that's why you can really break it up with like a lot faster and also with a lot less sweat. Okay, so I'll show you a picture. Hold on. That is it right there. Okay, it's next to the cotton gin. So, you know, you see like this is the steel tip plow, and it's going to break through and till the land. Okay, now here is the impact for the steel tip plow. Okay, it is going to encourage westward expansion. Remember, I told you how a lot of farmers were interested in trying out this fertile soil by like moving out west, but they knew it was really hard to break up, and so it kind of deterred them. But now, thanks to the steel tip plow, people are going to move out west, these farmers, and like they know they can now tackle this dense soil with the steel tip plow. And just note, even then, like you can even say too, is that this cuts down. If you're a farmer, this cuts down. Like it really shortens the time to do things. So usually when you cut down on time, you also profit cost because you can make more now in a certain amount of time, right? Because you don't have to do as much work. Okay, is Cyrus McCormick the next thing? Is that right? Okay, so Cyrus McCormick, okay, his thing is the mechanical reaper. Okay, and he built a factory to produce these. And if you ever heard of like McCormick spices, that's that family. Okay, and again, he not only is this cool for farmers, but also provide lots of jobs up north in Chicago. Okay, so like that's the Midwest up north. And the picture of the mechanical reaper is up top. It's that larger picture. Okay, and what this did is it harvested crops 7 times faster than like by hand. Okay, so remember, it harvested crops 7 times faster than by hand. Okay, now in case you don't know what that means, harvest basically means to like the crops are in the ground and you need to pull them out of the ground so you can like sell them. That's what we mean by harvesting, taking them out of the ground. Okay, and so again, instead of doing it like one and I mean that's gonna hurt your back, all that kind of stuff. Look, now you have these horses and you are riding the horse, like it's like a carriage almost. And then the reaper is behind you. And what it does with the grain is it's slicing the grain at an angle. And then the thing behind it has a compartment that traps the grain and collects it. So instead of you doing this and like just hurting your back and taking forever, okay, it'll be 7 times faster. And all you're doing is it's like a carriage. You're controlling the horses, and behind it, all the mechanization stuff is harvesting the grain and collecting it for you. Do you see how, again, less time means you can do more of it and make more of a profit, hopefully. Okay, so here's the impact, is that it's really going to cut production time, meaning, and so that leads to a bigger profit. But also, okay, in the north, the commercial farming there, grain is really going to be popular. Okay, now just remember, industry is the most like big thing for the economy up north, okay? But there are some commercial farms and they are going to focus on grain. Why are they going to focus on grain? Because the mechanical reaper was first created to cut and harvest grain faster. Okay. All right, what is next? Okay, here's the thing. Do not write down anything for fertilizer, okay? Just note, like I said, don't even write it down. But some people, like on the eastern part of America, they realize this western land is like really fertile and they want to try to compete. So they experiment with different types of like poop, if you will, like bird poop and bat poop. And they say, ooh, this is actually making this grow better and faster. We're good. We don't have to know about that. What's next? Okay, Samuel Colt. Does anyone know what Samuel Colt developed? That's someone knows. Anyone? Yes, a gun, a special type of gun. Anyone know? The Colt gun, okay. Does anyone know the number? Colt 45. Yeah, see, there we go. And you're like, what the heck is this? Okay. It's the revolving pistol, which is, you can also call it short, a revolver. Okay. Think about it. Muskets. Like you shoot, then you got to do the powder, all the little pellets, all that kind of stuff. Okay. For each shoot, right? This means like multiple shoots, it's like revolving, okay, before you have to reload, okay? So you can shoot multiple times before you have to be like, hold on. Like, you get what I'm saying? Yeah, charade is like, but that's what it is. So now you can shoot multiple rounds before reloading. Okay, so for the impact, it's going to be a couple of things. One, it's going to encourage westward expansion. Because remember, we're getting all this land from like the Louisiana Territory and all this kind of stuff. We'll eventually get parts of Mexico and stuff. And there are people who like want to go out on the frontier. They've heard about the Indians and they've heard about the buffalo and they've heard about, you get what I'm saying? Like the stories you hear. But now they feel like they can actually protect themselves because they have a revolving pistol. They can shoot multiple times if they need to. Okay. Another thing though too, is like our military will get better because like now we have a revolving pistol we could use too. There's a quote. It was like Lincoln made. This is like later because I mean the Colt 45 is still like Colt's still around today, that company. But it was like Lincoln may have freed the slaves, but Colt made them equal. Meaning like the fact that you feel like you can protect yourself. Okay, that's like a historian said that. Okay, all right. What's next? Okay, Samuel Morse. And what do we know about him? Morse code. Okay. What else? You use the Morse code on what? Yeah. Morse code and the telegraph. That's Samuel Morse. Okay. Okay, so here is the telegraph. It was patented and developed in 1837. So again, this is a little bit before the Civil War, so still antebellum America. Okay, remember, before the telegraph, letters, the postal service. Okay, and the nickname for that sometimes is called what? What type of mail? Snail mail? You've heard that before, anyone? Anyone? No, people are like, I'm crazy. For instance, I ordered something off Etsy like 2 Fridays ago, like little thing. It was mailed within an hour. Still haven't received it. Okay. Now imagine that this is like really important stuff, like battle strategies or like important decisions. Okay. It's going to take forever. Much more important than like my little Etsy order. Okay. The telegraph is going to change that. Okay. What does it do? It's faster communication. Okay, the impact is just, this is going to be the best form of communication. And last thing I want to add about this is the Union really embraces this, or the North, if you will. And a huge reason the North wins the Civil War is because they focused on industry. Okay, the Union during the Civil War had 9 times more miles of telegraph wires than the South did. Okay, they were constantly using the telegraph as like a weapon in terms of mass communication. You can make better decisions and keep everyone centralized. It was a huge reason why the North won the Civil War, more industry. Okay, and so you would use Morse code, which is that's there, and you would hit it a certain amount of times. The first successful use of the telegraph and Morse code across telegraph lines to like print out, telegram and stuff will be from Baltimore. It was a line that was established connecting Baltimore and Washington, D.C. That is not far at all, but you see how like the fact that you tried and it worked. So then they're going to build more and build more. By 1852, there were over 15,000 miles of telegraph lines in America. So what's 1837, the first one, 1852, 15,000 miles. Okay, so you can tell we really embrace this. Okay, if you ever, Jeopardy, trivia, okay, Morse code, his first successful message was, "What hath God wrought?" Which I think is pretty cool. It's like, look at what this is created. What did God do with, like, he just created this. And it really will change things. Okay, Western Union is a telegraph company that is still around today. When we think about Western Union today, have you ever heard of money orders? It's like a check, but instead of like mailing the check, you're like, look, here's the money. You usually give to like the postal service or gas. They do a telegraph saying, look, here's your money, and then like the Western Union takes it out. And that's how we usually use these telegraphs today, through money orders. Okay, so this is huge in terms of mass communication. Okay. What's next? Okay, for railroads, we're not really going to focus on individuals. Okay, just note, what did it do? Okay, it basically connected major cities. Okay, the impact is that it reduced travel time and cost. Because if you're a farmer, you know, the railroad you'll use and it'll cut your time, and so you'll cut your cost, so you'll make more money. And what also another impact is that it will be the most significant, it'll be like the most used form of trading and travel until mid 1900s. So we're talking the 1830s, they start to like be more popular than your roads and your canals. And the railroad is the main, like the fastest way to transport things and to travel up until we get like the 1950s, when most people have cars and we get airplanes and stuff like that, commercial. Okay. So right now, basically for the rest of the semester, railroads will be the answer. It's like the most, you know, significant way to travel and stuff, railroads and trade goods. What's next? Okay, so Isaac Singer and Elias Howe, okay? Make sure you, let's see. Here we go. There are two people, and I'm not going to tell you what, like, I'm not going to say which one did one first, okay? Howe developed the first, like, sewing machine, okay? And then Singer will improve it. You've heard, like, the Singer sewing machines. A lot of people have, like, furniture now. They'll take it, and they'll add, like, a table, okay? Singer is the one that made it, like, mass-produced, okay? So Howe created the first one, but Isaac Singer's going to mass-produce it to where it's significantly cheaper. Okay, and so when you're sewing, you know, in case you've never sewed before, you know, you gotta go like this, and like, it's just, it can be a lot, and it's very like painstakingly with details, okay? But now, you would have like this pump, okay? And you have this sewing machine with the needle, and all you have to do is just guide it through, and every time you press down the pump, the needle goes like this. Instead of you going like this by hand, you're now just going like this as long as you're tapping your foot. You see how you now can almost like mass produce clothes too. So if you're a seamstress or a tailor, you can make clothes a lot faster, so you can make more clothes and make more of a profit. Got it? And do you see how this is all like interwoven? You have the cotton gin with cotton, right? And then you have like the textile factories up north, like turning cotton into fabric and stuff. And then you'll have the sewing machine where you can actually turn it into clothing. Okay, so for the impact is that we'll start to have more like mass-produced clothes instead of like a custom thing. Now it's like, oh, we have extra time. Let's make some coats and like what most people order a size. Let's go ahead and just make that. And so, because it takes a short amount of time. Okay, what's next? Is that it? Okay. All right, so let me see if there's anything. We talked about, just to clarify, we talked about the cotton gin. We talked about the spinning jenny in chapter 9. The water frame is the spinning jenny, but like powered more like relying on water. We talked about the Lowell, the Boston, Lowell, Massachusetts, you know, mill girls and factories. Now let's turn to the back side. But don't worry about those blanks and stuff, okay? The advancement part, it's just the sewing machine. Are you good, Demi? Did that answer it? Awesome, awesome. Okay, so the back side, we just have a couple things, and then we'll be finished with lecture, okay? Quality of life, okay? First thing I want to point out, you have tenements, okay? Tenements are what we call like apartments today, okay? And if you see tenements, here's a picture of one right here, okay? It's kind of up north. Instead of calling them townhomes, they were called row houses because they're like connected in a row, but it's a townhome today, okay? But what's going to happen is sometimes these townhomes or these row houses will be turned into tenements. Let's say that someone moves, but they still want to rent, like be a landlord, okay? What they would do is that they would take their townhome, and each floor they would turn into little tenements or apartments, okay? And so what tends to happen is a lot of immigrants would like cram into them, or like poor people, because that's the only way they could afford a roof over their heads. Okay, so when we think about tenements, they're usually in cities. Okay, they usually are overcrowded, and over time, it'll be very dangerous and dirty. Okay, also, it's kind of interesting right now, but our first pandemic as a country was cholera. Okay, and that's the little thing right there. Okay, and they realized what stemmed from it was bad sanitation, water. You've always heard, that, alcohol was safer to drink than the water was, right? Okay. After this cholera pandemic, okay, they said, what can we do to prevent that degree of a pandemic again with cholera? And they said, we need to have a waterworks. We need to have sewers that collect the water. Then we need to have a sanitation process to clean the water and get rid of as many bacteria as possible, okay? You've heard about water treatments and water plants. Because of that pandemic in the early 1800s, that is when major cities, so the South isn't doing this, but like major cities up north, okay? They are really focusing on sewage systems and cleaning the water to prevent another pandemic. Any questions there? Okay, next there's a woman named Catherine Beecher, okay? And I just want to point out, remember I told you how one result, a social impact of the market revolution is that a lot of women will end up staying home now because men are going to be making these wages and a little bit better wages and stuff. And she wrote something, and you do not have to know what she wrote, but just note, she embraces the cult of domesticity. Remember I told that market revolution, women, you can stay home and do this, okay? Another thing though, she does say, women, if you do need to work, be a teacher, because that is how you can still be like motherly and care for people who may not be your kids. Okay, next we have anesthesia. Okay, what is anesthesia? Yeah, it's medicine that basically like puts you to sleep or makes you loopy. Okay, if you've ever had any type of surgery, anesthesia, you've probably experienced that. Okay, so what's going to happen is there are two people, and it's just like the sewing machine where clearly one person develops it and then one person improves it. You have a guy named William Morton, and then you have Crawford Long. Has anyone ever heard of Crawford Long before? In Midtown Atlanta, there is a hospital. Yeah. But Crawford Long, it's one of those like Georgia history things. He developed anesthesia, and there's a hospital in Midtown Atlanta named after him. Okay, and it's one of those things. Anesthesia, it's hard. This is pretty cool that if you use certain types of gases, it's just they experience with different types of gases, and that's what puts you to sleep or makes you loopy. In fact, we were doing this in the 1800s before the Civil War. It's pretty cool if you think about it, okay? And so the first guy created what is laughing gas, where you're kind of loopy sometimes. Some people, like if they have dental procedures, sometimes you're not knocked out, but you're like really loopy. You've seen things on like social media, like the videos of stuff, like, that's laughing gas, okay? And then the next step is like that full-blown, you are under, like you are not with it, anesthesia, okay? And like I said, the fact this is the early 1800s, that's pretty cool, okay? Next, we have something called phrenology, and if you've taken AP psychology, this is something that you've probably learned about, but in the early 1800s, when it comes to like mental illness and like sickness and stuff, okay, phrenology was basically the answer, or the big hype. Okay, what they would do is the doctor would feel your scalp. Okay, and y'all know there are some people who have they have like a lump, or they have like a little indentation. Okay, and what they would do is they'd feel around, and then if they felt like, oh, here's a little like canyon right here, you know what I'm saying? They'd feel, and they'd be like, oh, that's what the problem. I bet your problem's this, and you have a bad so and so. And they're like, yeah. Okay, that's kind of cool, but to me, I'm like, anesthesia, that's a little, to me, that's a little more miraculous. But that's how, like, a lot of people, like, when it came to, like, medicine and stuff, and, like, if you were sick and all that, they would use phrenology to determine, like, treatment and, like, diagnosis and stuff. You know, you got to start somewhere, okay? Let me see if there was anything. We know that in the South the nickname will be called King Cotton because, you know, they're able to process cotton with hardly anything. Okay, women in the economy, the last thing. We already talked about this, but y'all know that another social impact of the market revolution is that, like Lowell, Massachusetts, young unmarried farm girls will move there, live in boarding houses, and have a job where they'll make wages. But I do like this fact that in 1850, 10% of white women worked. Okay, so that just lets you know that don't say women stayed home. Most women stayed home pre-Civil War. Okay, yeah. Any questions? You good? Any questions for my online people? Okay. So now this activity. It should not take long at all. Okay. So you might have some free time. Imagine that. Okay. So what's going to happen in your group, you'll have two options. Option 1 or option 2. Both are College Board standards. You've heard of, we talked about the curriculum framework. Okay. There are two standards based off of the market revolution. One is like causes and effects, and one is like something else, okay? So what you do is, as a group, you choose option 1, which would be one standard about the market revolution. Option 2 is the other standard about the market revolution, okay? Underneath, you'll see, I'll post it in a second, but it'll say like option 1, here's the standard. And then to make things easier for you, I also have the elements, which are basically like, if the standard's like the broad thing, the elements are underneath it, which are a little more specifics that answer the standard. Does that make sense? And what you are to do is you are just to open and create one Google slide, like just, we're talking like one slide, okay? And I want at least 15 images on there. It's kind of like a virtual collage. Yeah, Google search. Trust me, it won't take long. And so if you have, you know, 3 people in your group, that's just 5 images each. Okay. I don't want to see any background collage. I don't see any background, but I also don't want to see like 5 pictures. Remember, 15 minimum. Okay. And you choose which option you want to do. Okay. You're going to submit the Google slide in the assignment. And then remember, if you don't submit it, still turn in and tell me who you worked with. And again, do you have to provide captions for the images? I would love it, but you don't have to. Okay? But you just copy and paste, you know, make it. So I'll post this and then I'll see if there's any questions. But do y'all see how first I was like, wait, that's all we have to do? Yes, that is all you have to do. Let me create this assignment quickly. Okay, guys, so I have this online. If you see right here, it says standard. And that's option 1, this standard right here. Okay? And then the elements are if you focus on the elements, your answer